Hi, my name is Chad King. Welcome back. I'm going to cover a new blog series talking about a lab, having a vSphere 5 lab. Of course, there's lots of things that are out there already covered, and I plan on not reinventing the wheel, so I will address some things as I go along. Some things may be done a little bit differently. Basic concept is that we want to set up a vSphere lab that's completely mirror of production. If you're looking for a quick setup, again, there's a lot of blogs out there that you can go to. You can just search YouTube and find a lot of ways to just install vCenter, install ESXi. We're going to go systematically and just have a whole approach to our lab and how we want to do it. So one of the first things you obviously need is, what are your base templates and what are those things you're going to be using? And I like Windows 2008 R2. However, you have to have a clone because nobody wants to just install 2008 over and over and over. So, unlike some of you who are sysadmins in like vSphere environments, and I use VMware Workstation 7, I'm not real familiar with 8. I know there's some improvements, and later on you may see me using Workstation 8. But I just wanted to cover real quick how you'd want to prep a clone and to get it ready. And so I'm just going to power on my clone that I have here because we'll be using this repeatedly, right? So we'll be going through and we'll be using this clone for Active Directory. Then we'll go and we'll use this very same clone also for vCenter Server. So to do that, AD is very picky about SIDs. And so on the SIDs you'll see that when you're using AD, and if you were to just power down and clone it and not actually perform what's called a Microsoft sysprep, your authentication would be broken because of your Active Directory domain controller doesn't have a unique SID. So rather than just clone everything and sysprep one system or do this or do that and have a mixed problems of all sorts, it's just much more efficient going into your lab to have this already ready to go. And I mean, most Microsoft admins would probably know this, but I just totally completely brain farted that I had to have a sysprep in place. So I actually had some issues troubleshooting. And so if you do this beforehand, you'll have a whole lot less issues later on ahead. So that's kind of the idea, is having a set standard when you go into something. It's just like anything with an environment. You want to have standards and stuff in place so that way you don't, waste time and resources. Because as a blogger and as a contributor to the VMware community, it's like I want my time to be spent wisely. I don't want to just waste it. So, but even so, it was a learning experience, and I want to share it with people because some people, they come out of a Windows background and they know that, and then you have some people that work in a VMware environment where they use templates and that's automated. So in this case, we have to actually manually set it up. But then after we manually set it up, we can say, hey, let's put it in this state. Let's turn it off in this state, and we'll know from here on out that that clone, it can be usable, that we can clone it and everything will be good and fine. I actually had to run a sysprep on my vCenter instance because it had the same SID as my Active Directory domain controller. And it's interesting because if you go out there and you look around in the Google sphere, you'll see that there's a lot of people who've had the same problem, and so I've tried to share this knowledge with others. So this is just kind of like a 101, what you need to know going into your lab to avoid a potential problem. I'm going to go ahead and pause while this skips through, and I'll kind of walk you through how to do that. Kind of give you an idea. 2008 minimum requirements. You're going to have 1 gig of memory. I give 2 network connections because I like to have a management network, and then I also like to have a separate production network. Some of you may have an additional one like backup or some other an additional NIC for something that may be load balanced or something like that, like a web app or something. 1 processor, of course, just a standard 40 gig, then provisioned. And obviously, I have a pretty powerful desktop from a CPU and storage standpoint, and I have a set limit of memory, but I'm looking to expand that soon. But I just wanted to kind of cover the specs that I use normally. So it's restarting after running a sysprep. I had already actually put this virtual machine in a sysprep state, so whenever I perform a clone operation for this VM, when I start it up, it'll sysprep itself. It's still coming up and prepping the system. So this is what the sysprep process looks like that's automated within a vCenter. Nice little password policy. Just a few things I like to check and make sure aren't going on, and this is something that I had actually saw myself, and I wanted to actually address it. So this is kind of the it's kind of a standard naming convention that I just like to use that across the board, you know. It just helps me identify what's going on, and then management, of course. Other than that, this is pretty much it. You're going to go to start to run when you actually get your Windows 2008 image done, and of course you can go through and do all your little tweaks and stuff like that. And you kind of see the sysprep directory. That's C Windows System 32 sysprep. You'll run sysprep, and then you want to generalize it. Enter system out of box experience is exactly what you want, and you want to shut down, and you don't want it coming back up. So the reboot option would be great if you already had like a sysprep SID issue, but in this case we just want it to shut down, and then once we shut it down we're just going to say OK. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I just want to note that if you're doing 2003, you'll more than likely have to install the sysprep tools. 2008, this comes standard. And this is R2 I'm running. Sysprep is still running. Now it's going to shut down. So here we see we got our basic configuration, everything configured, 64-bit OS. We're going to go now and do a clone operation. We just want to do the current state. I just do a full clone. I don't like link clones. In here, you just kind of, you know, if you want to make a new folder, you can make a new folder. I'm going to it's going to be actually another vCenter. And I use the standard naming convention. My business name, Virtual Noob, VirtNub, W for Windows, VC for vCenter, and 02 for Site 2. Just say OK, then go to Finish. And then it clones, and then you'll basically have a sysprepped image when it comes up, ready to go. And this is especially important with Active Directory. So thanks for joining me for this prepping your VMware and templates for your virtual lab. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks again.